Okay, here we are, video lecture number 9. Video lecture number 9, I am at Roman numeral 8. Roman numeral 8 on your video lecture outline. But I do want to touch back on the last point I made under Roman numeral 7, letter I, Bloody Mary. I mentioned earlier that Henry VIII had a daughter through his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. But Henry had a problem because he didn't want a daughter, he wanted a son. He did not get a son until he got to his third, maybe fourth wife. I think Jane Seymour was her name who gave him the son. But that son, Edward VI, was not a healthy child. He did become king, but he did not last as king very long, did not live through childhood. And when he died, his half-sister, Mary, became the Queen of England. Okay. By the way, Mary remained devoutly Catholic, even though her father created this new Anglican church. But she tried to return England to the Catholic Church and worked very hard and was very brutal to many people who opposed her, many in particular Presbyterians from up around Scotland, which is part of England, or off and on part of England at the time. That's where she gets the nickname Bloody Mary, is because she was so brutal to those who opposed her religious beliefs, even though her father is the one who fostered the Protestant Reformation there in England. So once again, in England, the Protestant Reformation really wasn't about disagreement over spiritual beliefs. It was really more about what the king wanted and the authority the Catholic Church had that he opposed in his country. All right, now let's go on down to Roman numeral 8, the Catholic Reformation. Okay, the Catholic Reformation. Letter A. The Protestant Reformation served as kind of a wake-up call to the Catholic Church. Okay, the Catholic leadership realized that they didn't have as much power over people as they thought. People were not following the rules that they established. They weren't living in the Catholic way of life as they expected them to. And so what the Catholic Church does to respond to the huge changes brought on by these Protestants was to kind of reaffirm Catholic beliefs and strengthen Catholic beliefs. Okay, so the letter A was a wake-up call. The Protestant Reformation was a wake-up call to the Catholics. They realized that they have to change some things about the way they're doing things. Letter B, the Jesuits are a big part of that. The Jesuits, also known as the Society of Jesus. The Jesuits was a new missionary group created after the Protestant Reformation. And what the Jesuits did is they were very active missionaries in spreading Catholicism to different parts of the world. They sent Jesuit missionaries throughout the New World, where the Europeans had for the past 50 or so years by this time been establishing colonies to try as much as possible to convert these new American Indians and other groups to the Catholic way of life. Also, the Jesuits spread throughout Europe, trying to return as many Protestants as they could to Catholicism. Okay, Ignatius, letter C, Ignatius of Loyola was the leader of the Jesuits. Before he became a missionary leader of this group, he was a military leader. So he ran the Jesuit organization as if it were a military, and he expected a whole lot of the Jesuits who went out all over the world to convert people or return people to the Catholic Church. Okay, letter D, absolute obedience. One thing that the Jesuits expected of people was absolute obedience, not to God but to the Pope. Okay, the Jesuits held firmly to the idea that the Pope was the spokesman of God. No one could communicate with God more closely than the Pope could. If you wanted to get in touch with God, you could only do so through the Catholic Church and ultimately through the Pope. Okay, so absolute obedience to God. Letter E, conflict for God. That is the motto of the Jesuits. These missionaries saw themselves as fighting a battle against evil. They're not spreading the love of Jesus as you might hear from missionaries and stuff today. They're fighting this battle against evil, and the evil, public enemy number 1 is Martin Luther, number 2 was John Calvin, Ulrich Zwingli, and of course all the Anabaptists. Okay, so they're fighting this battle. And there were 3 purposes to the Jesuit order, 3 main goals of the Jesuits. and they are promoting education. I'm on letters G, H, and I now, by the way. Promoting education, spreading Catholicism, and fighting Protestantism. That's what this organization was all about, was promoting education, spreading Catholicism, and fighting Protestantism. So through the Jesuits, what we see is a reformation in the Catholic Church. Okay, we see that the priests become more upright in their dealings with people. They stop being corrupt. The other Catholic leaders stop abusing their authority as church leaders. And we see that people who are leaders in the Catholic Church begin to act in a more, as we might say, godly manner. Okay, they kind of return to what's most important. They try to return to doing what's right, and the Jesuits had a lot to do with that. Okay, but one thing that does not happen in the Catholic Reformation is that the Catholic Church does not give up any of its beliefs. They maintain the idea that the Catholic Church is the only church in which you can come into communication with God. They maintain the idea that the Latin Bible is the only Bible to be read. They maintain the idea that the Pope is the direct connection to God. Okay. Now the other Protestants, they don't believe that the Pope is the only person who can come into communication with God. They don't believe that you have to go through the Pope in the Catholic Church to reach God. They believe you can do it individually. So what we see with the Catholic Reformation is we don't see any backing down at all in terms of doctrine or ideology, but we do see kind of reforms in terms of being more legitimate, standing up for not allowing corruption and not allowing those people who are part of the Catholic organization to kind of run amok in society. All right, guess what, folks? That's the end of the Catholic Reformation, and so therefore that is the end of this video.